Hello everyone, it's Jacob again with Flow Health, just going into some more about how the system works in the Flow Health methodology for healing, wellness, and performance-oriented lifestyle upgrades. All right, today I'm here to talk about the activation of spirit stage and how that works with the entire system. But today, what I would like to do is kind of expand the awareness of what it means to have this section in the full system. All right, so what I'd like to start off by saying is that when it comes to spirit activation, let's just go ahead and define what spirit is. All right, it says that the spirit is the non-physical part of a person, which is the seat of emotions and character, which is i.e. the soul. All right. The definition of consciousness is the awareness or perception of something by a person. The second definition, which kind of hits me a little bit more with where I'm going with, is the fact of awareness by the mind of itself and the world around it. All right. And then we go into the metaphysical meaning of spirit, which is the breath or the thing that animates life. All right. So from here, let's get into activation of the spirit. So one thing that I do want to say is that I do not know what your spiritual knowledge is or what a potential client coming to me would know in the realm of spirituality and consciousness. Like, for example, do you or do you not know about indigos or the crystal children or rainbow children and what they're here to do on this earth? Have you ever heard of the Hayoka Indian warrior legend? Question mark. Things like what the symbol of consciousness is, which is the pine cone, or where your consciousness rests in your brain, called the pineal gland. Have you ever heard of the Merkaba or the spiritual key, which in this section of Flow Health is purpose, or walking through the door of spirituality or the spiritual quest would be attaining authenticity, is what I would say. All right. Maybe you have not studied philosophy, metaphysics, the mystery schools of Horus, or occulted knowledge on top of medicine and the human body and how it all works together. I don't know how to start to gauge how to connect with you unless we start from a reference point. Okay, and today, this might be one of my hardest videos because in order to give you a reference point, I think the best way to do this is to share my own experience. Okay, some of the best teachers have learned from experience, and I know that it has been said that the modern shaman is an artist, scientist, and a healer. All right, it's also said that shamans study darkness. Okay, so what I'm about to share with you by no means is meant for me to give you a sense of victimhood or being victimized. Although we've had trauma, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna sit here and explain all this stuff so you can obtain a victim mindset. It's way beyond that. I'm trying to grow consciousness and grow conscious people. All right. This is a non-denominational program for a reason. I believe that different belief systems will limit your capacity to obtain knowledge, and I want to be able to talk about the things like philosophy, occulted knowledge. One of the great places that you can find some allegory is Dante's Inferno, which happens to be interesting because the first level is for people who take no action when they should stand up for something that is right when something wrong is going on. This is me stepping up and doing it so that others can have a chance to do it as well. All right, so here we go. Since the design of Flow Health is healing, wellness, performance-oriented, I thought the best way to convey the activation of the spirit is to think about it as a form of energy, okay? Just like activation of the mind, you can get energetic responses from that. Activation of the body is another energetic portal that we can use to upgrade our lifestyle. And then also I think the spirit one is a very interesting one to use for energy. All right, I would also like to make a distinction between using spirit as energy and the discovery of spirit using psychedelics. Okay, because I think that psychedelics are more of an illumination unto spirit and the way that it comes into manifestation. All right, so some of the things that I'll have to start with is just a little bit about me today. All right, so growing up, I didn't really have a great idea what spirit was. My life was pretty simple. Maybe the very first thing that I've ever used for spiritual acceptance was the fact that on May 11th, 1981, I was born the same date that Bob Marley passed away. That's an interesting concept to ponder and to be curious about. I don't think I'm the incarnation or reincarnation. I think that he dapped me on the way in to this world to keep the revolution going. We can talk about the entrance of the soul into the body. Is that when you are conceived or when you take your first breath? At a later topic, that's maybe, I don't want to go off topic as much as I can stay on topic with this one. I'm going to try to do that. All right, so, going through life, not learning anything about how some spiritual concepts are. We pick our birthplace, our parents, the situation in our life so that we can get what this school of life is for our spirit. And so whatever we're here to learn, that's what we're here to do. So I was kind of starting my journey learning about just basic mental, physical stuff. Went to church, grew up in church. I knew the Southern Baptist Convention head and his daughters, the Pages, and it was pretty interesting to be a part of a religious order, I guess, in a way where you spent most of your life in religion. All right, and then I hit the military because I wanted to try some new things with life and get somewhere. And so I think that one of the things that helped me with activation of the spirit was finding this new thing called pararescue. In the military, if you're not familiar, it's like a death cult there. And you have to be prepared to accept that you might be placed in a situation that could possibly take your life. All right, and I think this is the first time where I had a moment to check myself for real and say, well, what does that mean if I were to ever involve myself in taking another person's life or somebody involved in taking my own life? And that's kind of when I started to realize that there was something a little bit more beyond just mental and physical curiosity. All right, so in the military, I also want to say that I found this unit called pararescue, and or I guess it was a career called pararescue, and I wanted to do that because I wasn't quite a conscientious objector, but I felt like it would be easier for me to save lives than it would be for me to take lives. And so in that sense of thinking, I decided to pursue the career field. And if anybody knows about that, it's almost like the SEALs when it comes to the dropout rate on it. And it is a special forces unit. So some of the things you have to do are have the right mentality to never quit. All right, so I guess a good example of the energy part of this is you're going into training. How do I stay in another day, another hour, another minute? If you're just there because pararescue is cool and you want to be a PJ, I think that energy level burns out. But say your father's a hospital administrator and your mother's a neuro ICU nurse, and you have a medical lineage, and you happen to be the firstborn son of the last of your lineage, and you know you want to do something great with your life. You pick this, and you can carry on a little bit further. through the course if you have a little bit more to dig into a little bit deeper. All right, so that's what I'm trying to describe for you. If you're just in there, just physical, you can burn out. Physical athlete with medical lineage, you could probably get a little further. But when it comes to digging deep down in there, what is it that you're made of? What's going to get you through the complete course? And it's got to be everything that you got, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Period. All right, so from that point, I knew what I wanted to dedicate my life to. I didn't think about another thing. There was no way that I was not going to be this. And so I feel like body, natural gifted abilities would take me to a point, and I could use my mind to get me past another point. My lineage. Now I'm going to be the tip of my medical lineage and the spear of that lineage to help me get to hopefully graduation and stay motivated. But then you also have the spirit side. And because I didn't make it all the way through because I had my brain injury that got me out of that training and out of the military, I didn't have a chance to recognize what energy portal the spirit would give me. All right. And so this is kind of how I'm trying to describe it. All right, so you only get physical and mental energy boosts at a certain line. All right, then you either need to come up with another energy source to complete these goals or get you the strength to muster up another push towards your goals or whatever, because sometimes life gets really hard. And so, like I said, after my brain injury that got me out, I went back home and I went to see if a neuro ICU nurse could help me. And unfortunately, I did not know anything about narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder in a parent or anything. I'd always had strained relationships with my parents, and getting back there injured, unable to speak or communicate, I want to just kind of say that just like David Goggins talks about his bad card growing up, it happened to be my bad card. And I think one of the things that I want to share with you is that to you, anybody who's listening to me right now, if your parent ever said that they want to commit suicide and it was because of you, that is not a parent that is in the right way of giving this knowledge out to somebody who they're supposed to love. All right, and a lot of people cannot understand what it's like to have a person with no empathy above you sitting there watching you injured and saying that this is going to be how I make them. Like, I think this is hard for me. I think that the thing a narcissist is going to leave this earth is a wake of people wanting to commit suicide. And I think that any parent who ever told their kid that they want to commit suicide because of them has the same issue that I had when it came to saying stuff to yourself about, oh, if my parents don't love me, who can love me? And it's like I call it a water torture drip on my third eye. It was like, oh, I'm doing good. I'm trying to be good. No matter how good I am, I feel like a loser. I'm not worthy. I have this water torture. My mom said she wants to kill herself because of me. And that's a drip that's daily, hourly, minutely. You don't understand unless you've been through it what it's like to actually suffer like that. And to go, oh, well, I'll just kill myself so my mother won't feel that way. And I'm talking about this was a horrible situation. And luckily, I had a Marine with me that was in my unit in the civilian world who was like, Jacob, you got to act like your parents are dead and just trudge on. And so I'm talking about with a brain injury, going through remedial math, remedial English, having the shame sit there and paralyze me from even being able to connect with anybody and say, I don't know what it is about me that makes my mother want to commit suicide, but how can somebody else love me? So that's extreme isolation, torture drip. I think that the suicide part was at moment to moment for years, especially when you're struggling to speak and to learn language again and to go through school. And another big whammy was a narcissist doesn't want you to do better than them. So even as an associate, getting my associates, there was no help because I was going to try to get my bachelor's. And if I was going to complete that, for some reason, people, even a parent, thinks that they don't want you to look better than them. So, like I said, that was a release for me. I don't know. I think just like when the runner ended up like beating a 4-minute mile, I think that same year, different runners started beating the sub 4-minute mile. And I think what happened was, they say, is because one person did it, everybody else saw it could be done. All right, so really the courage that I have standing up to y'all is knowing that because I did this, it can be done. And I know, they say 1 out of 30 people is a psychopath. I believe it's probably 2 out of every 30 because of the covert malignant, the ones that are hidden and malicious. All right, they're harder to spot, but they all come with a similar pattern. All right, and so that's when I got into morality of healing. And I said, if I'm going to be fringe without any help from the military, the VA, or my parents, and I can't talk to anybody, it's either get it over with, or try to fix yourself. All right. And I think this is where they say pain really gives you a spiritual response. And even when it comes to the curtailing of the pain and alcoholism, one of the founders of the most prominent therapy for alcoholism believed that psychedelics could create the necessary spiritual experience for people to come back from extreme alcoholism. All right, and so that's kind of where I was in the ground, completely isolated, fringed out, no help. And so now it's kind of like the black sheep that was left, because a scapegoat is essentially somebody who is given the burden of the people and sent out into the woods to basically die as a sacrifice. But I believe I was the scapegoat that went through all that, got stronger and better, managed to survive, and now I'm recruiting other people to come up, or what I would consider get people from the darkness into the light, and then get our light workers healthy and fit to combat the darkness. Now, I also have this belief because in the military, before that moment with my parents, the separation and estrangement, I was taught that I could be of use to this Marine. As long as I learned about discipline and integrity, I could be as much useful as somebody who could help an entire group of people have their lives saved and get missions accomplished. All right. So I believe the same thing can happen with you. Even the most broken of the broken, I can give you this information. You can find out that, oh, I can heal and have a wonderful life. And then you can help me combat the darkness as well. Because in this spiritual place that I'm talking about, there is spiritual warfare. And with narcissism, it was explained to me in a spiritual place, in a spiritual way through the Bible, which was one of the best kings of Israel, King Ahab, brought this Jezebel in, and she started worshiping Baal and sacrificing kids and doing all the evil stuff into this kingdom. And God took away all this stuff. And eventually the Jezebel was killed. So that story resonated with me spiritually. And then next thing you know, I am trying to fix myself, and I'm trying to just find a moral path for me. All right, so this is funny. So my spiritual development, my mental and physical life force energy dropped when I was abandoned and estranged, and the VA wasn't there, and all I had was one friend, a Marine, who said, Jacob, you might as well act like your parents are dead. Most squared away thing anybody ever told me. Just get over it. Get over it and get on with it. All right, and that's just all I'm trying to help you do. All right, so at this point, I'm just going to kind of go over some notes that I have on the development of my spirit. All right, so spirit was down, completely in suicide, to be honest with you. And I just want to say a lot of people don't know what happens to the spirit when suicide takes place, all right? Some of the Vedas speak on this. They say that spirit came to earth and it just got overwhelmed by the challenges and the things that they were supposed to learn and took an easy way out. Spirit doesn't go to hell in the Vedas. It goes back to a place of healing, and it gets taught that you must reincarnate and start all over again. And you must finish these courses in the school of life so that you can attain the knowledge that you need to move on to the next life, which is funny because I believe I have one more life as well. And I'll kind of say at the very end what I mean by that. All right, so when it comes to spirit rising, just physically, I was physically able-bodied, but mentally just not even able to function. I had terrible impulse control, barely any language skills. I was starting remedial math, remedial English, and failing speech like a pro. All right, but I was using school to heal my brain. All right, then I was learning about the brain, how it works, and how to make it adapt to this injury so I could start functioning in society. Then psychedelics came in the picture in the form of me trying to quell the pain. Any drug would do, but psychedelics really were a game changer in the way that my spirit started to notice these concepts of healing. All right, one of them is my favorite one, called forgiveness. And even though my parents did me completely wrong, one of the most spiritual things I've done is forgive them, because it opens me up to being more free and light and to enjoy myself without ever thinking about anything or concentration on anything but the steps that I need to take to make myself a good life and happy in this life. All right, so I appreciate the psychedelics and being initiated in that, because I come from nothing with nothing, and this is what I'm building up with my experience. All right, so I also got to a place where I'd done nursing and then couldn't handle the fecal matter aspect of nursing. I was trying to do the civilian equivalent, flight medicine, and kind of failed out. Came to Crested Butte and then saw people doing some very active stuff. Decided that's what I want to do for the rest of my life, and came back to Georgia, to Savannah, to get my health science degree. And so it was about 8 years of school of struggling through all this without any help. I'm telling y'all, if I can do this, you can do anything too. And I'm recruiting you right now. All right, so also I studied energy under an acupuncturist, right? Also started a healing center because I'd been involved in so much learning and healing that it was I was able to be gifted by the universe to have access to a place to teach others some of the things that I learned to heal myself. All right, so also, you know, once you go down and you're in this pit of despair, you have to come up. So I learned spiritual concepts in recovery. And then I started reading philosophy, metaphysics, occulted information on spirit. Also just studied narcissism a ton as well, and what that exactly meant and what that is and the patterns of it. All right, and so after all that, I literally, once I found this video on narcissism and how this little flower was there and it talked to another little flower and it said, I don't want you here using my resources. I feel like committing suicide and I feel like it's because of you, everything snapped into place. And I was like, it's not me that's defect, it's this person right here that is very off. And that's when the whole spirituality of narcissism, where narcissism comes from a spiritual concept, started, giving me information and allowing me to become more informed. And so it says, so at the very end, what happened to me, I think, which was cool with the focus on spirit energy was, when I was a civilian growing up, it was just physical and mental. Then I found both of those combo could make me probably get through pararescue, but that wasn't my destiny. All right, so what that was I was influenced by pararescue so much that at my lowest, when it was the only thing that would have helped me was to just end it all, I found that the spirit of a PJ would look at any challenge and go, let's just go ahead and see what she's got. All right, and that meant anything. And you have to understand about the standard. It wasn't, let me just see what you got. It was like, because I'm trying to get the highest certification to train people with a brain that doesn't function. Who even comes up with a goal like that? And that's giving your everything and actually succeeding, because I wouldn't be talking to you if I didn't succeed at what I'm doing. All right, so before I lose everybody and trying to explain how activation of the spirit works, and I hope y'all have enjoyed this up until the very end. All right, so I just want to go, there's a part B to all this right now. All right, and it's the psychedelic part, okay? And that's how the discovery of spirit was made, through things like mushrooms, which quickly I'll just kind of give you a little bit about how I discovered that. So mother energy, like I said, I'd lost that, and mother energy with mushrooms had kind of given me the ability to relax and feel safe and discover myself in a safe spot with the energy of mother. All right, LSD gave me the energy of the Father. And so that would basically grip me and say, look at all the things that the universe has to offer. And then my curiosity would be awakened. All right, because there's more than what meets the eye in this whole entire world. And you can kind of put that to the test when it comes to occultic symbolism, right? Once you know the language of symbolism, you're able to read a little bit more what goes on in the world, from the stars to the planet to the underworld. All right, but it starts with a curiosity. All right, and then of course DMT opened my world up to how sacred the space around me was, and that type of energy. All right, so the discovery of spirit using psychedelics was pretty cool, because instead of being angry and mad, I literally learned that everybody's got a path, even your parents. Doesn't mean you're going to get the best parents in the world. You can get thrown a bad card just like David Goggins and do something spectacular with your life with no talent. Just like me, I'm nothing special. I just know that I had a place where I wasn't ready to quit on life, and there was no way that I was going to take that mentality and lose it, even after I was a civilian. Even after I was a bunk civilian, I couldn't even function. So luckily, these spiritual concepts came into me, and it was like forgiveness, and people have their own road with their own lessons, and the knowledge that some people's brains are different, and how life works with consciousness. And so you have two types of consciousness: fear consciousness, we call it Christ consciousness, or love consciousness. And so what I've been allowed to do is kind of climb the ladder up to Christ consciousness, which is more of the place where we love ourselves, we love people. We don't take anything personally because we know that everybody is on this earth trying to do their school. All right, so really, real deal, psychedelics made me conscious and loving and forgiving, which definitely helps with spiritual weightlessness and I think a clear consciousness and with authenticity. I think psychedelics offer a great bridge into higher order thinking with better awareness and bigger vision. All right, and so part C is the narcissism part, and narcissism being studied as a spiritual disease. It's unfortunate, but if I hadn't had those experiences, I never would have been able to come to this place where I don't have that drip anymore. And the best way to describe it is when I'm jumping out of that plane, that I'm not saying, oh, my parents almost never got to see me again and all this stuff. I'm saying, hey, thank you, God, for my life. Thank you for my ability to live my life this way. I jump out the plane willing to come back down to earth and let everybody have a chance and opportunity to live whatever kind of life they want in any way they want, as long as they don't hurt anybody else. So I think of some of the implications that I've seen for society. When you activated your spirit and you start knowing all the spiritual knowledge, you can see the people who have the spiritual disorder of narcissism and ego and how they'll lie to you and use the same patterns only from a micro scale, which is one-on-one, to a macro scale, which narcissists can come together and start making a reality that only focuses on them and what's good for them. All right, and last but not least, part D is the scapegoat part. All right. The scapegoat, what it is he's cast to the wilderness to die. So in a way, the scapegoat is left with nothing. Now that the scapegoat is left with nothing, what I want to do is see the scapegoats get strong enough to heal, get well, and become whole again. All right? It is now up to me to show the way to others so that they can rise up. And my ultimate goal is to raise the conscious level of humanity, and my ultimate goal is to get people out of the darkness and into the light, and then get our light workers fit and healthy to combat the darkness. Woo! All right, thank you very much for allowing me to spend some time working on this program for you, and I hope that you intend to use this. I feel like we've connected in a reference point, so now that you know that I've experienced it all, and I've come to a place where none of that even matters because of my purpose that I'm involved in and my authenticity. So it's like blinders. You can scapegoat me all you want. I'm not going to even be around for that. I'm building my brand and what it does to raise the consciousness of humanity. And I appreciate your time for allowing me to give this information out so that it'll hopefully help that process along. Thank everyone, and I hope everyone has a great day. Goodbye.